Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the day that the Lord has made. I don't know what that was. Let us rejoice and be glad about it. Come on in the room, people of God. Hallelujah to the Lamb. When I tell you He's good, He's just good. He's good, and mighty are the works of His hands. Hallelujah. Come on in, people of God. Ooh. Come on in, y'all. I am sore from yesterday's workout, but God is faithful. Come on. All right, y'all. I'm so excited. There is a word from the Lord on today. I almost missed Makeova Ministry myself, y'all. I just was sitting meditating, and then I said, ma'am, it's 7:50. Oh, okay. Get up. So there is a word on today. Hallelujah. I love God and all His children. I want us to jump right in. So come on in. Make sure you share the live today because it will bless you. It's going to encourage somebody. Lord, we thank you for another day. Thank you for your continued grace and your mercy. Thank you for being good, perfect, kind, loving, all-knowing and all-seeing. God, we just ask that you speak to our hearts this morning. Speak to our minds. Speak to our very situation. Allow the word to ignite a fire deep down in our bones. May your word be manifest in our heart and our lifestyle so that others may see you through us. For it is in Jesus' name that we pray. Hallelujah and amen. Hallelujah. Come on in. Come on in, y'all. There is a word from the Lord on today. Listen, as I was just up this morning, just meditating on the goodness of the Lord, I thought about something. I was thinking about something. And I just came to the conclusion that I don't want to perform. I'm not interested in being a gospel artist. I'm not interested in being famous. I'm not interested in a platform so that you can see me. I think somehow we've gotten lost in being entertainers of the gospel. We've gotten lost in, and I'm not even talking about big name people. I'm talking about in your local church where we have become entertainers. We have become characters. I'm just not interested in performing for people. And the more that thought, I just began to dwell on it. And I just began to think about how we've turned in so many people, and you don't even know it, you have morphed. So many people have morphed into entertainers. God, I love your word on today. There are so many people that have morphed. We wear these big outfits, these costumes. Come on. You know, if you come in there with just, you normally got on your big hat, your big wig, your big eyelashes, your big nails, your big dress, your big this, you got all your things on. But if you just come in there in jeans and a t-shirt, people say, what's wrong with you? It's because we have morphed into characters. And I'm just not interested in performing. I'm not interested. And so the Bible says we should have no reputation for ourselves. Okay. We should have no reputation because the Lord He didn't have no reputation besides doing the work of His Father. Your work should be your reputation, not your fashion. I always say, baby, I won best dressed in the world, so I'm not impressed with wearing it, winning best dressed over here in the kingdom, because I want the work of the Lord and I want the lifestyle of Christ to be shown through me so that others are drawn to God and not to Dolce & Gabbana. Yeah. Come on. I'm so grateful for the Holy Spirit. I'm so grateful for the love of God. The truth of his word. I'm so grateful for, my God, come on, the testimony and everything that he has done in my life, the nooks, the crannies. I thank God for the exits. What do you mean, woman of God? I thank God that when God began to do a thing in me, even though I did not like it and I was not comfortable with it, I thank God. God, I bless your name. I thank God, that I took those exits because I would have been just like them. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. They're just because when we have become gospel artists, God, I love your word on today. We're talking about we're in one vein this morning. So somebody's coming here, you asking questions that we're not talking about. So we in one vein. That's why I'm not answering that question. We're in one vein. We go in one direction. You can inbox me if you want to leave a question. And if I feel like that's something that we're talking about, then I can help you. But the thing about it is we're more worried about the ensembles. We're more worried about the hairstyles, the glitter, the glam. We're more worried about the big suits and the fancy names. We're more worried about what if all you could get up? Let's go back to the road. God, I love your word on today. It's okay. No condemnation. We're just staying in one direction. I want us to stay. It's like when you walk into math class, we talking about math. So that's what we talking about. And so it's very important that we get this because so many people have become gospel entertainers. Yeah. Gospel entertainers. And I'm not just talking about singers. I'm talking about just in general. Every time we see you, you look like a runway in Paris. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in having a women's conference where you feel so stressed out. Yeah. You feel so stressed out about what you gonna wear. And if you don't get your hair done, you ain't gonna feel right. And if you don't have the right ensemble, you gonna be out of place. Baby, you can come in a wrinkled t-shirt. God, I love your word on today. And let God use you. See, I'm not interested. And it's only because, listen to me. It's only, God, I love your word on today. It's only because I took the exits. When the Lord told me to come out of hair and makeup cold turkey, and I did it, and it came with much persecution. Yeah, people say, well, if I got to walk around looking like a man, then I don't want to do that. And I said, I'm a man. I look like a man. I think I look like a lady still just because I don't have on a wig. Come on. But it's because, God, I love your word on today. It's when you take, come on. Now you preaching. It's when you take those exits, whatever those things are that God is challenging you to do. It's so that when you go to the next level, you're going to need that. Wait a minute. Let me go back because this comment, I need to say that out loud. That's good. They said nails done, hair done, and everything except the anointing. You are preaching on today. Come on. We get so caught up. God, I love your word today. We get so caught up, come on, with things that don't matter. We're missing the meat. God, I love your word on today. We're missing the cake. God, I bless your name because we settled for the icing. I don't want to do it. I'm not interested in being a performer. And I was before and didn't even know it. I remember one lady came to me. She said, I can't wait till you get to church every Sunday. I cannot wait to see what you gonna have on. You are always sharp. You see why was not my reputation that you're always holy? Why was it that my reputation that you always look nice? Come on. We settled. They used to call me pretty girl at church. Come on. They used to call me pretty girl. And do you know the origin? God, I love your word on today. Come on. That's it. Come on. Do you know the origin of the word pretty? God, I love your word on today. Come on. The origin, the original meaning of the word pretty means to trick. So what they were saying every Sunday is you tricking me good. Hey! What they were saying every every Sunday that you tricking me good. Yeah. So our word today is I am an example. That's our word today. I am an example. And whether you know it or not, you are an example. God, I love your word on today. Whether you know it or not, you are an example. Yeah. You're an example in your dress code. You are an example in your lifestyle. You are an example in how you praise God. You are an example in how you live. You are an example in how you respond. You are an example in your faith. You are an example in love. You are an example in purity, whether you know it or not. You a good example or you a bad example, but either way, baby, you are an example. The word example means someone or something to be imitated. Someone or something that is the standard of or an illustration of. So you are an example. God, I love your word on today. I need every person on here to type, I am an example. God, I love your word on today. Because today I come to raise your accountability within yourself. Because your daughter is looking up at you. Your son is looking up at you. God, I love your word on today. Your husband is looking at you. Your wife is looking at you. God, I bless your name. I am an example. Now it's up to you whether you're a good example or whether you are a bad example. But truth be told, you are an example. Yeah. That's it. Someone is always watching. You said that correctly. God, I love your word on today. I am an example. Did you know it? This is why I'm so hard on marriage, because your marriage is an example. Your relationships are an example. God, I love your word on today. I remember being 14 years old. And I remember I got pregnant, and me and my sister, we had a very close relationship, and that we never fought. I don't have the testimony that me and my sister used to fight all day, every day. I don't have that testimony. It wasn't my testimony, but I remember at the age of 14 becoming pregnant, and it was our first fight. God, I love your word. And what it truly was over was her heart saying that you have been my example and you have broken my heart. Because I am an example. I am an example. God, I love your word on today. We do touch and agree with you about the situation that you are facing. And I will say that God knows and God sees. Yeah. I don't think we take accountability to that one fact. If you get nothing else out of this whole thing, I need us to understand, that I am an example. And yes, we can be overcomers. And yes, God is able. But if I would have taken, God, I love your word on today. I'm just talking about me. I ain't talking about you. If I would have taken that one thing to heart and understood I am an example for my little sister who was looking up at me, I would have not opened my legs to somebody. I would have tried to rethink that thing. Is this what I want her to do? It's in our selfishness. God, I love your word. It's in our selfishness, God, I bless your name. Come on, that we live any kind of way. And because God uses all things to work together for the good, yes, he will use that very thing to work together. Yes, it's a part of my testimony, but I'm trying to help us on today because there is one thing that's called the perfect will of God. And then we have the permissible will of God. And many of us live in the permissible will of God, and we don't live in the perfect will of God, because in the perfect will of God, I should not have gotten pregnant at 14. But in the permissible, in the all things work together will of God, God, I bless your name. Come on. I was pregnant at 14 and I miscarried. Yeah. I am an example. Now, someone just said, you said your daughter, you just realized that your divorce broke your daughter's heart. I don't know the nooks and the crannies of the details of the divorce, but sometimes it's best. And one thing that I just don't know if we're getting this about divorce is that if marriage is good, there's no reason for divorce. There's a reason that brought us to divorce. And so we do have to, there definitely should be counseling for children after divorce. There should be counseling for each person after the divorce. But sometimes it's best because sometimes we do worse together. Yeah, if we're not equally yoked and if that yoke don't line up, because sometimes we start out unequally yoked. But if that yoke don't line up, Gomer and Hosea, they were unequally yoked, but the yoke lined up. And so I pray for your daughter's heart because that's hard. It's hard. It's not easy for children to comprehend. And that's something that I pray that you get some counseling for her because that's important, how she's able to work through that. Sometimes it is best. I don't know your situation, but I am an example. And the reason why the world is in the state that it is in is because the lack of holy, positive, upright examples. Amen. Yeah. Because, God, I love your word on today. The lack of holy, positive, upright examples. Yeah. Matter of fact, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to do a session with you and your daughter. The lack of. Yeah. And because the Bible, let's go there. Let's turn to Isaiah. The Bible in Isaiah 5 helps us to understand some things. Let's go there. God, I love your word on today. Hallelujah. Good morning, good morning, good morning, woman of God. Hallelujah. If we get this part, it helps you fight better. If we get this part, it helps you live different. Come on, it helps you not to do those things that so easily beset you. They don't easily beset you when I realize, God, I love your word on today, that I am an example. And that people are, I promise you, my purity in my single season. Come on, I'm just trying to talk to somebody about my spiritual daughters. I might have wanted to. But because I believe that the oil on my life pours down on my spiritual daughters, I walk in purity on purpose. Come on. 3 years I was celibate. I didn't touch my neighbor and I didn't touch myself. Come on. And it wasn't hard. I don't know. We just make it hard, but it was not hard because I remembered that I am an example. Isaiah 5:20. What sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil, because we're in the time where people are settling. People are settling. God, I love your word on today. We're settling. God, I bless your name. Come on. We're settling for calling evil good and good evil. When we speak against homosexuality, God, I love your word on today, we're persecuted. When in our actuality, the homosexual acts, that's what's evil. Come on. What sorrow for those who say evil is good and good is evil. What dark. That dark is light and that light is dark. That bitter is sweet and that sweet is bitter. What sorrow for those who are wise in their own eyes and think themselves so clever. Amen. God, I love your word on today. We're settling. And it didn't just start. Come on. Come on. It didn't just start. I mean, we can go all the way back, but just the first song that comes to mind for me is Michael Jackson's song, Bad. Why was we calling bad good? See, we're calling bad good. And then we call each other names that if somebody else calls us, we mad about it, but we call ourselves that. Come on, I don't know about you. I just say I'm talking about me. Me and my friends used to stay calling each other the B word. That's so disrespectful. It's so degrading. We're calling evil good and good evil. If you wear your natural hair, we say you don't look good enough. If you have on clothes, we say you dress too plain. Come on. We're calling evil good and good evil. God, I love your word on today. We're not satisfied with purity. We're not happy with holiness. We're offended by the truth. It's just true. Yeah. We're offended by the truth that is just true. God, I love your word on today. Yeah. And I'm an example. This is why I live like I live. I know I'm an example. Do you know that you are an example? Come on. I am an example. I need you to know that on purpose. Your daughter is looking at you. I'm talking to every woman right now under the sound of my voice. Your daughter is looking at you, and the way you let a man treat you, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, God, I love your word on today. You are setting a standard. I'm talking to every man under the sound of my voice right now. Your son is looking at you. And the way you treat his mother. God, I love your word on today. The way you treat yourself. Come on. My. Well, I need you to be a full example. Yeah. Because you are. Wait a minute. Somebody said I'm not a full example. You are a full example. You're not just because you don't count yourself as a full example. You are. It's somebody looking directly at you, patterning their life, looking at you and how you do things. God, I love your word on today. I remember my daughter one time, I was getting ready to get me something to eat. And she said, I had put whatever on my plate. She said, dang, you big hungry. Because what she was saying is, yeah, Jesus is the example, but he ain't the only example. If you're a follower, you're an example. Don't see, we want to put it on Jesus. Man of God, you know I love you, but we want to put it on Jesus, baby. But if you he's gone. You're the example. We the hands. He said, greater works shall we do. See how we want, it's easy to put it on Jesus. Come on. No, you are the example. Yeah. You a man of God? Don't call yourself a man of God if you ain't no example. Don't call yourself a woman of God if you're not an example. Don't call yourself a leader. Don't call yourself a mother, a father. Come on. You are. God, I love your word on today. And because we have not enough holy examples, the children are patterning their lives. Go with me because I got scripture. You know I got scripture. That's it. Exactly. We are his image bearers. You're right. Come on. Where are the examples? The Bible says the older men should teach the younger men. The younger men should learn from the older men. God, I love your word. And the older women should teach the younger women. Instead, we got the opposite. We got the old men trying to be young. We got the old men trying to dress like the young men, putting on the basketball jerseys and putting on the whatever those things are. They're just trying to be young. I want to look at Paw in his suspenders, in his overalls, in his blazer. Come on. I don't want to see Paw with his pants sagging down. The lack of examples is killing our generation. Right. The lack of examples is killing our generation. We got the grandmas dressing like Cardi B. I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. My grandma, I'm going to say it till I die. My grandma, she was a great example to me. I don't know about nobody else. I wasn't in the house when she was raising her kids, but my grandma, oh yes, she didn't cuss me out. She was kind to me. She was loving. She didn't tell me her business. She didn't tell me the neighbor's business. God, I love your word on today. She didn't take out her problems on me. God, I love your word on today. Come on, she read books with me. She didn't necessarily teach me how to cook, but she always put a meal on the table. She dressed presentable. I never seen my grandma's behind. I never seen her breasts. Come on, she wore slips in the house. She wore robes. Come on, she wore her grandma style wigs. Come on, she didn't have baby hair swoops. God, I love your word on today. Come on, I'm just trying to help somebody. She didn't have contoured makeup. She didn't have big eyelashes looking like this. Grandma looked like grandma. Let's go to 1 Corinthians because I want to give you scripture. We got plenty. We gonna cause we're gonna kill this. We want everything to be on God. He sent his son. Jesus died. What else you want? Now, let me tell you what that looked like. I love the Holy Ghost. Y'all love the Holy Ghost? I love the Holy Ghost. What that looks like is when children, you have raised your child. I'm talking about the real kind. God, I love your word on today. You've been faithful. You went to all of the school meetings. You was in the PTA meetings. You went to the cheerleading. You went to the basketball. You paid for college. You bought their first car. You gave them a down payment on their first house. You paid for the wedding. I've done my part. And then they 25 and they keep coming back to you to do things. No, Jesus has done his part. He's been the example. Now, what are you doing with it? 1 Corinthians 11. 1 Corinthians 11. God, I love your word on today. And verse 1. 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 1. I'm sorry. 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 2. I am so glad that you always keep me in your thoughts. Yeah. And that you are following the teachings I passed on to you. God, I love your word on today. Come on. Follow. Verse 1 says, it's not in this Bible, but verse 1 says, follow me as I follow Christ. Yeah. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. God, I love your word on today. Come on. And so many say this. I come to destroy the myths. Come on. That's what we do. We dismantle low faith. We dismantle sugar-coated Christianity. We dismantle casual Christianity. That's what we do here at the Makeova Ministry. We tear down every false way. We tear down everything that does not directly line up. Come on with the word. Follow me as I follow Christ. So when people say this, don't look at me. Come on. Yeah. Don't look at me. Okay. All right, I got you. Thank you. All right, you're right. So verse 10, the end of 10 says that, okay, and you should imitate me as I imitate Christ. Thank you. That's his Bible. So when people say, don't look at me, don't follow me, just follow Christ. Well, are you a woman of God? Are you a man of God? Come on. That is a poor statement. Don't say it no more. It's a poor statement. Because it breaks my heart how we reverence God, y'all. It really does. I'm so heartbroken over the way we reverence God. We put everything else above God. We want to be imitated in everything but the things of God. Okay, my grandma, can you tell me how to cook that one thing? Yeah, baby, get this. Now do it like this. Now make sure you do it like this. If you do it like this, it'll turn out right. Okay, so I can imitate, God, I love your word on today, everything else, but I can't imitate your walk with Christ, then I shouldn't be following you. We're supposed to imitate. The hairstyle that you got right now, you seen somebody with it. Yeah. Just helping somebody. So we can imitate the carnal things that do not matter. We can have earthly examples, but not holy examples. If you are rich in truth, we should be able to look at you as a holy example. We should be able, and you should say, imitate me, because I'm saying this. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. Follow me as I follow Christ. Let's go to Philippians. I'm giving you Bible today. It's so easy to rely on these cliches. I'm sick of the cliche Christianity gospel. We don't want to be imitated because it gives us wiggle room. God, I love your word on today. It gives us wiggle room to do whatever we trying to do. To still hold up our own agenda and not to die to the flesh. Let's go to Philippians 3 and verse 17. Dear brothers and sisters, pattern your lives after mine and follow and learn from those who follow our example. Come on. Exactly. Yeah. We imitate culture, but not the culture of God. Thank you, man of God. That's so true. Come on. I don't want to imitate culture. Where did we learn cuss words? Because we learned it we imitated. My God, come on. That's right. My God, come on. We need to understand this. Where did we learn everything? Everything you have learned, you learned from someone. You learn how to tie your shoe. Okay, do the bunny loops. I never did know the bunny loop method, but I like how it sounds. Do the bunny loops, or you do the little tie. Come on, but I learned this thing from somebody. So why are we shying back from being Christ's examples? Christ-like examples. Why are we shying back from being Christ-like examples? Let me keep reading the text today. Philippians 3 and 17. Dear brothers and sisters, pattern your lives. Matter of fact, before we go any further, do you got your actual Bible? Or are you just listening to me? If this is where you make your morning breakfast in the Word, I need you to bring your Bible and your notepad. And I need you to get you some pens and some highlighters. And I want you to underline, or I want you to highlight. Okay. I want you to highlight pattern your lives after mine. And then what I want you to do is bring you some sticky notes, and I want you to bring you some index cards. And I want you to write that on here. I want you to write pattern your life after mine. I want you to write it on 3 sticky notes, and I want you to stick it in your house in a couple of different places. God, I love your word on today. And because you're going to do that, it's going to be your reminder. You are called to be an example. Type it on the screen one more time, because I need you to know that today. I am an example. I need you to type that on the screen. I am. Until it gets down in your soul. You're not going to cuss nobody out today. You're not going to flip nobody off in traffic. God, I love your word on today. You're not going to be nasty. You're not going to be rude. You're not going to be crazy, cranky, because I am an example. My God. How I handle my children, I am an example. And I want them to pattern their lives after mine. God, I love your word on today. Pattern your lives after mine and learn from those who follow our examples. I got some good testimonies on yesterday that blessed me and they encouraged me. God, I love your word on today. One of my spiritual daughters called me and she gave me her testimony, and we shouted, hollered, and blessed the Lord. Come on. And all that good stuff. And I'm so excited about it. Come on. And we just had us a Holy Ghost good time. You know why? Because she followed my example. She fussed. I ain't gonna say she didn't. She complained. I ain't gonna say she didn't. She cried, and that's okay, because I'm crying in that gym. God, I love your word. But I have to follow the example of my trainer. I love God and all his children. This is the season that you got to know that you are an example. In my eating, I got to know I'm an example. So I cannot just sit up and eat a whole cake. Verse 18. For I have told you often before, and I say it again with tears in my eyes, that there are many whose conduct, that's why you don't want to be an example, because your conduct. But when you know, I know my conduct lines up. So I'm not worried. I want to be an example. This is the Bible. Many, come on, I love God and all his children, whose conduct shows that they are really enemies of the cross of Christ. Woo. Don't follow me. Don't look too close at me, because I still cuss people out. Your conduct, I didn't make this up, y'all. This is in the Bible. This is in the Bible. Their conduct, not their preaching. God, I love your word. Not their prophesying, not their laying hands on the sick, not their casting out devils, because all of that is based on if God moves. Come on. But their conduct shows that they are really enemies of the cross of Christ. And they are headed for destruction. They are headed for destruction. Their God is their appetite. Come on. Their own desires. That's their God. God, I love your word on today. The lust in the belly. Come on. The lust. And I'm not even only talking about food. Yes, I'm talking about food, but I'm not only talking about, see, your way is your own desire. When your conduct, when you laying around sleeping with people that is not your husband, not your wife, God, I love your word on today. When you're on social media, you dress naked. When you're cussing every third word, God, I love your word on today. You live to please the desires that are within yourself. That's it. Who is your God? You're right. Yeah. We do pray that the Lord meets your need. Hallelujah. Listen, I'm just trying to bless the people of God today. They are headed for destruction. Their God is their appetite. They brag about shameful things, and they think only about their life here on earth. It wasn't until I started thinking about hell. We all talk about heaven. We got funerals for the people that's actively got shot in the middle of a drug deal. Talking about, he's got the shirts with the rest in peace. We pouring liquor in the casket, shaking weed bags across the top of the casket, pouring liquor on the grave. What part of that is holy? That's weird. We all think about heaven, but it wasn't until I started thinking about hell. It wasn't until I started thinking about hell that I had to say I can no longer please my own part, my own self, my own flesh. Hey, when I came out of homosexuality, I still liked women, and the woman that I was married to honestly has treated me better than any man until we gonna see. But she treated me better than any man that I've married after her. So the truth of the matter is, it was not about if I liked it, if I agreed with it, if it felt good to the flesh, if it was going to be good to me. Come on. It wasn't about none of that. When Galatians 5:19 told me I was going to hell for living a lifestyle that was not pleasing to God, but was pleasing to me, because sexual immorality is pleasing to you. Come on. Yeah. And lust of the flesh and sinful desires and drinking. I liked drinking. I still know what drinks taste like. Come on. I liked drinking. I liked it. I enjoyed smoking weed and painting a picture because I like to paint. I like smoking weed. I used to like to get high and get a massage. Come on. I wanted to go to the next level, but baby, I've learned how to go to the next level in God. See, we have to understand I'm an example. And people should pattern their lifestyle after me. If you are a leader, if you are a mother, God, I love your word on today. If more parents took accountability that you are actually an example. No, I mean, for real, I know we'll say it. I'm not talking about saying like, I'm doing a good job with my kids. I'm doing a good job with my kids, honey, because you can't tell me what to do. Honey, I'm a good mother. I'm a dang good mother. Yeah, we say all that ignorant stuff. No, for real. The whoring that you're doing when they go to sleep. Yeah. Do you really want your daughter to do that? They're patterning their lives. They are patterning their lives after yours. See, the thing that I pull from that text is that Paul, he was not glorying in himself. God, I love your word on today. He was not glorying in himself. God, I love your word on today. Come on. But what Paul was saying is one thing I'm confident in. I'm confident that my heart is pointed towards God. Paul could tell them to pattern their lifestyle after him because he said, baby, I'm pointed towards God. I'm focused on God. God, I love your word on today. Come on. And Paul did not only teach from his wins and his good days and his glories. He also taught from his losses, his shortcomings, God, I bless your name, and his bad days. His greatest message was that my desire is Christ and that my desire is to please Christ. And so if that is what you're looking for, pattern your life after mine. If you're going to be a cookie cutter, my God, if you're going to be a cookie cutter, remember that other cookies will be cut from you. But you the first cut. That's right. Y'all was on here preaching this morning. My God, come on. We have to understand I am an example. That's why I don't only teach you from my good days. I don't only tell you the mountaintop moments. I tell you when I was up under that bed about to lose my mind. I tell you when I was fighting for my mind. I tell you when I lost my children. I tell you when I backslid. I tell you when I did what I was not supposed to do. I didn't just start with you. When I was homeless with my children, I remember being in a hotel and I kept trying to keep all the hard parts of me not knowing how I was going to pay the bills next. And I didn't know how the next thing was going to happen. And I was like, God, I'm just trying to protect the kids and don't tell them. He said, no, tell them the problem so that when the solution shows up, they going to know about God. So I don't only tell when I did good. I tell when I did wrong. I tell when I was deceived. I tell when I fell short. I tell when I just choose my own way. I tell the results of it. God, I love your word. Paul did not only teach from the good of him, he taught from also the struggles. And that's why I tell y'all my struggle is food. That's my struggle. Come on. I'm honest. I'm open. God, I love your word on today. Let's go to 2 Timothy. When I tell y'all the Lord is kind, 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 13. Hold on to the pattern of wholesome teaching. Come on. Hold on to the pattern. God, I love your word on today. Of wholesome teaching you learn from me. You should be learning. This is why I ask this question to people. Who are your teachers? You have to specifically know who your teachers are. Come on. Honey, I just get a little bit here and I get a little bit there. You missing some stuff. No, it's not good. Everyone should have a teacher. And they might not know that they're your teacher, but everyone should have a teacher. My first section of deliverance, my teacher was Sarah Jakes. I listened to a sermon once or twice a day, every day. Through the first maybe 3 to 6 months, I listened to a sermon from her until I outgrew her teachings. Who are your teachers? You know, when you in school, your teacher, you ask your daughter, what's your math teacher's name? What's your science teacher's name? What's your so-and-so teacher's name? What's your so-and-so teacher's name? Every teacher, even the teachers need a teacher. Who are your teachers? Because you didn't learn it by yourself. We are in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 13. Hold on to the pattern of wholesome teaching you learn from me, a pattern shaped by faith. A pattern, amen. A pattern shaped by faith and by love that you have in Jesus Christ. My God, yes, God is your teacher, but God has teachers to teach you. God has teachers to teach you. If not, then there's probably some things you miss. I'm an apostle and I get my lessons from God. But before I got my lessons from God, I got my lessons from people, and I still get lessons from people. So you're going to come up short. If God wanted to be if he wanted to do everything supernatural with no people no people, he wouldn't have wrapped his son in flesh. So see, we get high-minded. We don't even know it. I love you. I ain't attacking you. I'm just making it plain for other people that are reading it, because they might try to come into agreement with that. So I'm just trying to help somebody today. If that ain't you and God is your teacher, I'm not trying to offend you. Then the Lord is kind. But I need us to understand that the pattern, what was this pattern shaped out of? What was this pattern? God, I bless your name. With a pattern shaped by faith and love, because some people's pattern is shaped by gift and personality. Some people's pattern is shaped by money and status. God, I love your word on today. I'm just trying to help somebody. I love God and all his children. The Lord is kind and he'll help you if you want to be helped. Hold on to the wholesome. Let's break that word down. Don't just hold on to some of the teaching that you're learning here at the Makeova Ministry. Hold on to the wholesome of everything added together. Don't nook and cranny from it. God, I love your word on today. Hold on to the pattern of wholesome teaching. Yeah. Shaped by faith and love that you have in Jesus Christ. Some of us, our patterns have been shaped wrong. Okay. Some of us, our patterns have been shaped wrong. And we like the comfortable teaching. That's why we ain't growing. That's why there's no fruit on your tree. You're comfortable. Let me talk to the men of God for a minute. I'm talking to, because I gotta be honest. I'm disappointed. I'm let down. Blessings, woman of God. I miss your face. I love you much. I thank God for you. But I'm disappointed in the men of God, because it's too many men of God hiding behind the woman of God. It's not good. Hiding behind. You're supposed to be the priest of the house. God, I love your word on today. And we thank God for you being the provider. But in order to be the head, God, I love your word on today. You got to pick up the Bible and say, baby, come on, let's read the word together. Come on, baby, it's time for a church. Come on, baby, it's time. Let me pray with you. Come on, let's lay hands on this thing. Come on, let's cast this spirit out of this house. Come on. We got too many men that have settled for being the provider instead of being the priest. Oh, God, I love your word on today. You can't just be the head in the bedroom and in the boardroom. God, I love your word on today. Be the head in the Bible. I my husband turned on. No, I think I turned it on. We got Netflix now. My husband done put a TV in the bedroom. Y'all, you see, y'all pray for him. Okay, y'all pray for him because I don't watch TV. But my husband done put a TV in the bedroom. So we was watching Netflix last night, and we watched one series, or one episode of that I think it's called "When You See Me," about those boys that were wrongfully convicted of the rape of that woman, those little black boys. And the whole time, I just got so upset that he said, "Baby, just turn it off. Please, just turn it off because you are getting too upset." And I said, no, because these are young men that have no example. And what really made me angry was this. What really made me angry was how those boys cowered in the face of fear. It made me angry because they were able to be pressured by men. And the Bible says, fear no man but God. Even the daddy cowered down to fear. Ooh, that made me so mad, y'all. I promise I done got hot all over again. Let me calm down. Let me calm down. Because what that shows me is that we have too many cowardly men of God. We have to, now you teach your son, you stand up for what is right. And God defends you. You don't cower down and let them people pressure you into saying that they did it and you didn't do it. You don't let them people pressure you. It made me mad, y'all. I promise. I had to literally turn it off. And I said, let me get in my word because I done got upset. Let me just, because I just, no. Where are the men of God that are standing? I'm tired of the men of God bowing down, falling down to adultery, smoking weed to get through problems, whining to wind down in wine bottles and in women. Where are the men of God? Stand up. Where art thou? Adam is still echoing in the earth. The Bible says, subdue the earth. And we on here talking about what's the name of Jesus. Is it Yahweh or Yahshua? No, what is your name? I don't want to talk about things that Jesus, he know his name. He ain't confused about his name, but do you know yours? I'm not going to go back and forth about should a woman preach, should a woman not preach. I'm not going to go back and forth about what day should we worship the Lord. There are children dying. You are called to be an example. Breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. And I'm not even talking about prayer right now. Talking about hitting them streets, going to the highways and the byways, talking about going to the crack house. I'm talking about going to the corners. I'm talking about going to the strip clubs. Telling our daughters, come down off that pole. You mean more to God than that. The Lord said he shall supply all of your needs. But they can't listen to us because we too busy saying, I just don't want to be, don't look at me as no example. No, look at me as an example. Line up your life, woman of God. Line up your life, man of God. And not just in one area. Talking to a man of God yesterday, and I'm sure he got offended, but it's okay. I still love him. And when he gets over himself, he'll come back. Because we started talking about this weight that we're carrying. And God is calling us to come out overeating. I was overeating one day, and God said, you might as well drink a glass of wine. You might as well. You preach against wine, but you need to put that chicken down. Many people, you trying to win back your marriage, you need to get in the gym. Come out of the prayer closet and get in the gym. That's why the worldly women, your man's looking at them because you done got big. I am an example. My heart hurts because the children have no examples. Our children, let me tell you, I promise God is doing something in me, y'all. I don't know everything about it, but I know it's happening because I've had this texture before. And I'll tell you, when he begins to deal with me this way, he doesn't tell me to stop doing a thing, but he begins to make that thing so uncomfortable. He begins to make that thing hard for me. He begins to make that thing just, oh God, It's not lining up no more. My God, come on. And so we're right here. And God is dealing with me in the area of wearing my own hair. And I've worn weave for years. And he delivered me once. And then he gave me permission to go back and use it as a drawing card. But we're here again. And I said, God, but I don't, it's easy to wear weave. And guess what the Holy Ghost said? God, I love your word on today. Compared to what? Well, I just had to sit down and say, okay. And so it goes back to, because we've learned to be performers for the gospel, because we've learned to put on these beautiful things, and we got all this, we can't go to a women's conference unless the bow is as big as your head. Come on, listen, I said, God, I'm confused because I don't really know what to do with my natural hair, just wearing it because I ain't never wore it, because I don't have no example. Because all the women of God, most of them, I'm going to say about 98%, I'll give them 97. I'll go 97. About 97% of the brown colored women wear hair weave in the gospel. So now what's happening is the pattern, God, I love your word on today, that is unspoken is a woman of God got to get her weave done. She got to have fake nails. She got to have big eyelashes. The first time God began to deal with me in this area, I was teaching in a classroom in Florida at a Christian private school. And every morning I would put on a full face of makeup. And the girls at first, they didn't wear makeup. And then some of them did. But then I started seeing them as the year went on. They started putting on a little more makeup and a little more makeup. And they would just come and say, Miss Smith, I love you. They come and lay their head on my shoulder. I love you, Miss Smith. I love you. And God said, you're teaching my daughters that a woman of God has to be made up. I'm trying to not run today, y'all. You're teaching, I promise it made me go home and get some olive oil and wash this face. God, I love your word on today because you are an example. When God began to deliver me, God, I bless your name, from vanity, come on, and from all of these extra things, God, I bless your name. You know who he used? Heaven. I used to wear ice blue contacts, and then my baby came in there one time. She said, Mom, I want some contacts. I was like, Heaven, you don't need contacts. You got beautiful brown eyes. I'm looking at her with ice blue fake eyes, telling her she looked beautiful with her beautiful brown eyes, and my beautiful brown eyes I covered up. You see how it don't make no sense when that revelation hit. Baby, I took them. Let me get these on app. That ain't God. And then she began to struggle because she didn't feel pretty with her own natural hair. So then mama had to go natural. So either you are an example or you're not. I don't care. Listen, I'm good. I don't care. You don't have to mimic. I don't have to be an example to you when it comes to how to shout, how to holler, how to praise. I don't care if you don't have to be. I don't have to be your example for that. But I want to be the example in how to live genuinely as a vessel for Christ. Yeah. My mama said it this way. I don't know if you ever met my mama. She's colorful, y'all. Just bless the Lord. My mama said she went to somebody's house and they said, yeah, girl, I got to go because I got to go in here and do my hair, my makeup, put my teeth back in, put my girdle on. I got to go in here and put my wig on. I got to go in here and do this because I'm getting ready to have a date, honey. My mama said, also, you getting ready to get all faked up. Fake. F-A-K-E. You getting ready to get all faked up and sit across the table from a man that you want to be real with you. See, she be preaching, y'all. Yeah, Joe be preaching. The Lord just bless her where she at today. I love that woman of God too. She be preaching. Come on. You getting ready to get all faked up to give the real word of God. Jesus. Okay, you getting ready to get all faked up to go on a date, okay? And you want him to be real with you. I want you to be real with me about this, and you all faked up. Man, y'all, it's crazy. This is just where we at. It's just where we at. And so our girls don't feel beautiful because you got on lace front wigs. Lace front wigs, I specialize in wigs for women with medical hair loss. They started out for women who were bald, who did not have hair. Now we got people now you're doing so many products. You try to braid your hair, then you putting a stocking cap on, then you putting makeup on, then you're gluing the stocking cap down, then you're gluing the wig down. How do you even scratch your hair? Child, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to pray. I'm going to pray. Come on. Listen, we have to get this. We got to get, and I know, and I'm not even being funny. Yeah, even somebody said, okay, I'm glad my husband met me without makeup. That's true. Even when I began in my dating seasons of marriage and all of that, listen, I had to have a wash face because you got to look, this is what you wake up to. Okay, I like to doll up every now and again, but at the end of the day, this is just if this ain't good for you, then I'm not good for you. This regular hair, this is how much hair I regularly got. So if this is good for you, God bless. If it's not, then I'm not for you. Come on. See, we're morphing into all these things, but you know why? Because in our soul, God, I love your word on today. The word of God still works. It's just whether you accept it or not. The Bible says that we should be a new creation. And so in you, there is a desire to emerge. Come on, a new creation. But when it's not in Christ, come on. When it's not in Christ, we turn into a new creation, but we don't know what that thing is. Come on. And that's why people don't know you. Come on. That's why people don't know you without your makeup on. I see some of the women of God, and without their makeup on, I don't be knowing who they are. And I'm talking about the women of God because the worldly women can do what they want to do. They get to choose that. They get to choose that. Come on. But if we are women of God, you have set up and said, I am a standard of holiness. I am an example. That's one thing I love. And this is how you know your people. I remember waking up on Christmas morning this past Christmas, and I was very teary-eyed and soft and tender-hearted because I just began to thank God for my children. Because I don't want to be a performer. I am who I am. And the people that I can be who I am around, those are my people. The people that don't mind me stopping in the grocery store and blessing God, come get shouting in the middle of the aisle. The people that don't mind me waking up with this is how my hair is. They don't care about that. They don't care. The people that you can just be yourself, whoever you are. And you don't have to morph into a new creation. Yeah. I mean, I actually hear a lot of men say that they don't like this stuff. A lot of men of God, not even the men of God, a lot of men say they don't like these big eyelashes and the toucan Sam colored hair. And I'm not being funny. I'm a hairdresser, so I like the creativity in it. But at the end of the day, why do we need all of that? It is so much money being wasted. Okay? The man of God said too much, way too much. It's not wrong with a little this, a little that, but it is, y'all. It gets to be too much. I am an example. God, I love your word on today. Let's go to 2 Timothy 3 and 10. 3 and 10. 2 Timothy 3 and 10. Why could Timothy trust Paul's example? Why could Timothy trust Paul's example? Okay. Why? You don't have to worship the Lord. It's your choice. You do not have to worship the Lord. Somebody said God is a narcissist because he forces us to worship. You don't have to worship him. That's on you and just whatever comes with it. Come on. The Lord is kind. Let's go to 2 Timothy 3 and 10. But you, Timothy, certainly know what I teach. And not only what I teach, you know how I live. And what my purpose in life is. Come on. Listen, this is important. Because I am an example, I cannot live a secret life. I'm very open. I'm an open book. Come on. I don't have to live a secret life because what I do in private, I do it in public. What I do in public, come on, I do in private. God, I love your word on today. Come on. See, we have to understand that this is just, It just is what it is. You don't have to live a secret life. People, I'm just very secretive because I don't tell people my business. Well, we can see your business by your attitude. Clearly, something ain't right. Come on. Amen. Come on. But you, Timothy, certainly know what I teach and how I live and what my purpose in life is. Come on. The people that are around you, they have to know what you teach. They got to know what. Nah, wait a minute. That ain't one of my spiritual daughters. She called me Mama Bird. That ain't what Mama Bird teach. That she'll call Mama Bird. I went to this church. They do not teach what you teach because she knows what I teach. But not only does she know what I teach, but she know how I live. Yeah. And she knows my purpose. So she's not offended. God, I love your word on today. Come on. When my purpose, aligns with a moment. When we ride in the car and I have to say, wait a minute, and I got to pull over and do a praise break on the side of the road because I need to break something. My God, she's not offended. God, I love your word on today. When we're out enjoying ourselves, having our own whatever we doing, and I got to take a moment and go pray with somebody. God, I love your word on today. Come on, she's not offended when a word is bubbling up in my belly. Come on, and I got to let it loose. Come on. See, you have to be around people who are not offended with your purpose in life. God, I love your word. You know my faith. You know my faith. And my patience. My love. And my endurance. You know how much I have been persecuted. I am an example. You cannot be an example if people don't know your faith. You cannot be an example if people don't know your patience. You cannot be an example if people don't know your love and they don't know your endurance. God, I love your word on today. And I'm not just talking about what I say. I'm talking about how I live. My faith is not shown in what I say. I'm so sick of these churches. If I see one more, I'm going to scream. So if I'm around you and I scroll and I see one and I just say, because I can't take no more of these churches talking about they believe God, but the whole congregation, including the pastor and the praise team, got on masks. Crazy. Now, if God is sent me on assignment, because they ain't got masks in the crack house. So whenever they ain't got masks in the crack house, but they got masks in the church house, I'm not coming, so don't invite me. God, I love your word on today. Come on. Listen, because if I believe God assigned me to come and do the assignment, God, I love your word on today, and he's not going to keep me safe from sickness. And if you want me to get sick, I'll get sick. Come on. I'm just trying to. I just was around somebody with COVID in the car on a 3-hour car ride with the windows up. They coughed the whole time. I didn't have on a mask. Come on. They didn't have on a mask. God is still faithful and God kept me. So this is the thing. We got people out here promoting masks that got 7 and 8 kids by 7 and 8 baby mamas and 7 and 8 baby daddies that ain't even wearing condoms. Just don't make no sense. You know my faith. You know my patience. That's it. You know my patience. God, I love your word on today. Come on, you know my patience because you've seen me endure through some things. You see me hanging there with you. I'm talking about the ones that are up close and personal to me. Ones that's on the phone with me 2 and 3 times a day. Come on. Ones who have lived under my wing. You've seen me be patient with you and other people. You've seen me endure through seasons. You've seen my love. I specialize in love, y'all. I specialize in it. Come on, I do it I love on purpose. I don't love on accident. If you're loved by me, it's not on accident. It's on purpose. Come on, and you're going to feel love in my presence. God, I love your word on today. Come on, you're going to feel love in my presence. Come on. Reverend, you on here preaching on Facebook. It's real. Come on. See, we got to understand that this is not, your life can't be so private that people can't see your endurance. People say it about, that's my testimony. I hear people say, they be like, girl, I ain't worried about you, child. I mean, whichever way, if people do right by you, they do wrong by you, going to get up and keep going. Come on. See, I don't let life, I might get knocked down, but I ain't going to stay down. That's it. I'm just trying to talk to the people of God on here. I'm just trying to talk to you. Come on. You know how much persecution and suffering I have endured behind preaching this gospel, behind living in a way. I've caught persecution from the church. I've caught persecution from my family. I've caught persecution in my own household. I probably have persecuted myself half the time. Come on, because it ain't been easy, but God. I've suffered for this thing. Seminary school and suffering are two different things. The anointing is different. We got people that preach well, but they don't suffer at all. They've never learned. And that's why they go to another church. I want to go to a church that don't teach suffering, Apostle. You know, I like you. I love you. You know, that's good. Come on. No, you're going to have to come from among all that foolishness that you're doing. Come on. And it's going to hurt. You're going to have to cry through that thing. Yeah. You're going to have to cry through that thing. You're going to have to go through. My God, come on. You're going to have to be whipped. You're going to have to be beat through some things. Come on. You're going to have to endure and still get up and do your God assignment and still love and still be patient. Come on. People don't like this kind of teaching. So they go to the sugar-coated church where they say, it's all right, y'all. Just put on your big hat, girl, and your good suit. Come on, bring your Louis purse. God bless you. Come on, it's Louis Vuitton Sunday. Everybody put on your Louis Vuitton purses. And we're going to come on to church. We're having a women's conference. And we all still leave fat. We all still leave broken. We all still leave with a cussing spirit. We all still leave with no endurance. We all still leave with no faith. But we showed up pretty and we got a good picture on Facebook. I'm not settling for it anymore. I'm not settling for it anymore. I'm tired. Because if we are the people of God, either you are an example or not. I don't want to keep hearing the people of God saying, I'm holy enough to pray for you, but I still lay hands on you. Sit down. You're not an example yet. This is why I thank God that he birthed that thing in me. And I would have loved to came to Georgia and go and sit under a church. I would have loved to, but I couldn't find one that matched my faith level. That's the first part. I couldn't find one. I'm not coming in church being forced to wear a mask. I'm not doing it. You're offending God. You are offending the God in me. So when I seen that, I knew we ain't on the same faith level. That's just first of all. That's first of all. Second of all, if you got a 501c, we ain't on the same faith level because I trust and believe that God shall supply all of my needs, not the government. Come on, if you're telling people to take the vaccine, we ain't on the same faith level. Come on, see, we're on the different faith level. If the pastor's wife always got on the big fancy suit and all she do is look pretty on the front row with her little feet crossed. Come on. Now we ain't on the same faith level, baby, because I believe in getting down and dirty. I believe in getting in the nooks and in the crannies of this thing. God, I love your word on today. If the pastor's, his pulpit is so high that he can't never come down and touch the people. Come on, if I can't cry on his shoulder. God, I love your word on today. Come on. I can't sit up under no cheap oil because mine is too expensive. And I don't care if the church is big. I don't care if it got pretty lights and beautiful pews and pretty seats. And I don't care about the fellowship hall having glitter and diamonds hanging from the ceiling. If you have no faith, the Bible said it's impossible to please God. Just trying to help us on today. In order to be a holy example, you must live with a clear conscience. Yeah. You cannot be having the thing that on your mind that you did last night that you shouldn't have done. Because it's going to bubble up. Been there, done, they got the t-shirt. It's going to bubble up when the anointing falls. God, I love your word on today. Because if it's the true glory of God, God, I bless your name. Come on. It purges everything in the room, speaker included. It purges everything in the room when the glory shows up. Whee! Glory! When the glory shows up, baby, I love you today. You're just a good one. Come on. I'm just trying to help somebody on today. When the glory shows up, it's like bleach in the washing machine. Everything gonna get white. Yeah. When the glory shows up. I am an example. That's our word today. That's our word today. I am an example. I'm not an example on accident. Let's go to the next level. I am an example on purpose. God, I love your word. Let's go to 2 Timothy 4. 2 Timothy 4. When I tell you the Lord is just so good, I'm sorry, 1 Timothy 4. 1 Timothy 4 and 12. Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say. Come on. In the way you live. Come on. In your love, in your faith, and in your purity. They're not going to like it. That's why Paul had to tell Timothy, you younger than them, but you live purer than them. You're younger than them, but your faith is on a greater expectation. You're younger than them, my God, come on, but your purity is purer than theirs. You're younger than them, but your love is more perfect. So don't let nobody think less of you. And if they think less of you, don't you think less of yourself. Woo! I pray this is blessing somebody today. I pray this is blessing somebody today. Because we need examples. That's what the Bible is teaching us. You need examples in what to say. That's where you learn, like I said, in the world, that's where you learn cussing. My God, come on. In the church, that's where you learn how to say what they say. Because you need examples in how to talk. Who you are around, it matters. My little nephew, come on. He was around my spiritual son for one weekend. Honey, his whole life changed. Because he saw an example. I promise you. I don't care if I'm not an example in fashion no more. I've been there, done that, and won the award. God, I love your word on today. I'm trying to help you see an example in faith. I'm trying to help you see an example in love, in purity. Our standard of Christ is too low, people of God. Our standard of Christ is too low because of the examples that we have. Just telling people, just take anything, just go through anything, just be around anything, and God's gonna fix it one day. No, listen, no, if this is not righteous, anything that is not holy, how can an unbeliever, and a believer, what we got in common? How can light and dark be one with one another? What harmony does Christ have with the devil? Now, if I'm not talking about this Bible, somebody let me know. Because I'm giving you Bible, our standards are too low. Because our examples live too low. I went to a church, a man of God told me one time, and it really hurt my heart because I'm confused. I was confused. He said, yeah, in my younger years, I used to cast out devils and do, revivals. And I used to lay hands on the sick. And I used to. How do you retire from God? How do you retire from God? I said, well, I'm at the wrong church because the Bible says the signs of a believer. God, I love your word on today. They show their hands on the sick. They shall recover. They shall cast out devils. They shall cast out demons. My God, come on. They shall tread upon serpents' heads. Whew. Thank you, God. Where are the examples? We've traded the examples for shiny suits and big hats. I don't want to sit under a pretty ministry no more. I don't care about it. I don't care if the room I preach in is pretty or it's ugly. Come on. We're so worried about decorating the room and door prizes. Forget all that. Is there going to be transformation in the room? Is there going to be deliverance? Keep your donuts as long as I get delivered. Hey! If we're going to a prayer breakfast, God, I love your word off. You can keep the breakfast as long as the prayer works. I am an example. We need examples in love, y'all. We need examples in faith. We need examples. See, I love Job because Job went through hell and his wife said, curse God and die. But he was an example in his own household. He said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. He didn't get no attitude about it. When his friends came and said, Job, you done sinned. It must be sin in the camp. It must be sin in your household. Job was not offended. He stayed faithful to the assignment. Have to be an example. I promise you. Listen, I don't know if you're really a man of God or a woman of God if the problems that are going on in society don't ignite your fire. Because when I see children going by the wayside and I see people still drug addicted, I'm talking about the kids because most of these grown-ups, they know what the heck they're doing. But I'm talking about these children. I'm talking about our youth. If that don't ignite a fire in you and you can keep driving by in your fancy car and you can keep going to your old stuck-up dry cracker church, my God, come on. You can keep doing all of those things and you can keep driving by these children that are hurting. It don't provoke nothing in you. You can love your wife any kind of way. You can love your husband any kind of way. You're not a man of God and you're not a woman of God. Stop. You know what? I'm just going to say it. I'm not saying it no more. I used to say it because I said I was prophesying over people's lives. But now I'm giving you false hope. You're not a man of God if you don't love it like Christ loved the church. And I'm not going to keep teaching. I never ain't taught it. But I'm not going to come in agreement with this teaching. That is not marriage. I'm not going to tell you that it is because now I'm lying on God. Submit to your husband as unto the Lord. But if ever submission, God, I love your word on today, makes me go against Christ, baby, I can't submit. Come on, I got to take my submission back. Come on, if submitting to a man makes me have to sacrifice my prayer life, it makes me have to sacrifice my purpose. If my love cannot be perfect with you, my God, if my patience is overstretched, God, I bless your name. Come on. See, we don't have any examples in marriage. You're going to get one right here. I can't worry about it. I can't worry how we get to where we're going to get to the example. But one thing you're going to see is love done properly over here. And I'm not settling for nothing less. And I'm not waiting 20 years till the change comes. Because I ain't read that in the Bible. If you find it, you let me know. I haven't read that in the Bible. And that's not what I believe about Christ. And the reason we have so many broken marriages is because we don't have any holy examples. And I've seen something like, but I don't want something like, because I ain't got a something like God. He's a full God. Come on. He's all encompassing. I've seen some with holiness, but no romance. Now, marriage has love and romance. Come on. It has holiness, faithfulness, commitment, honor, respect. God, I love your word, loyalty. Come on. It has all of that together. So we got to take back marriage for the kingdom and stop settling. Because that ain't God. We're misrepresenting the kingdom. And don't you feel bad about having to move on. If it ain't God, it ain't God. I'll leave the church, the city, the man, the cat, the dog, the house, and the car if it ain't God. Because there is a texture to the Holy Ghost. There is a texture to the presence of God. The presence of God is always refreshing. It's restoring. And anything less is a leech or a thief. Don't settle. You cannot be your best self as an example with all these broken relationships around you. I don't care if they're family ships. I don't care if they're the children that you've birthed. Yeah. I am an example. Let's go to Titus 2. We got a couple of more scriptures, y'all. I don't know if it's the Holy Ghost or the sun coming down on my back, but I'm hot this morning. We just thank the Lord for his word. Come on, y'all. We got to get this righteously done, because it's not righteous and we're just going with anything and it ain't God. Titus is so little, I can't even find it. Woo. Let me just go to the beginning, honey, because I can't find it. I don't want to be here 2 hours looking for Titus. It's little. Whoo. Y'all just pray my strength on today. I am an example. I am an example, and you are an example, and that is what God has called us to. All right, Titus 2 and verse 6. Matter of fact, we'll start at verse 3. Titus 2 and verse 3. Similarly, matter of fact, let's just start at the 1. I'm sorry. Let's go to the 1. Thank you. See, now I got that. It's going to be right after Timothy. Titus is after Timothy. Thank you. As for you, Titus, promote. That means influence. The kind of living that reflects wholesome teaching. If you say you learn, we should see it in your lifestyle. God, I love your word on today. Teach the older men to exercise. Somebody say exercise. Teach the older men to exercise self-control. Do you realize that self-control don't just come without no exercise? That means the opportunity to use it or not is going to be right there. Yeah. The opportunity to use self-control or not, it'll be presented to you, and you got to keep on working. Come on, sometimes you're going to pass the test. Sometimes you're going to have to cry with tears in your eyes. Exercise. The way that I came out of the residue of homosexuality. God, I love your word on today. My God, I had to teach my eyes, because I used to like to watch big behinds. So I had to teach my eyes, God, I bless your name, come on, to live holy. And the way I did that was while I was out in public, I had to look at the ground. Yeah, because just because I got delivered didn't mean that all the big behinds was going away. No, and didn't mean people was going to do right. So I had to look at the ground. I had to learn self-control. See, if men teach other men, you ain't got to look at the women just because they walk past in a skin tight outfit because they haven't learned their worth yet. You don't have to look at the girl on Facebook. You, matter of fact, unfriend her. I don't care if y'all been friends since high school. If she don't know how to dress in a way that's respectful online, unfriend her. Come on. You have to learn how. Listen, I'm getting delivered from this food in this season, so I can't sit up and watch the cooking channel. See what I'm saying? I can't come to all the gatherings where it's going to be 95 dishes of food that I like. Not yet, because I'm trying to learn. Somebody say learn. I'm trying to learn self-control. Yeah. I'm trying to learn self-control. So I have to not put myself in an environment till I get a handle on that thing. Ooh, now, wait a minute. It's still wrestling with me, y'all. Ooh, it still look good to me. Come on. I got to wrestle that thing until I subdue it. Come on. I'm trying to talk to somebody on today. See, now I can go to the gay bar and I can preach because it don't have a hold on me no more. I don't know if I can go to the cupcake bar right now because I might still be struggling. Come on. You got to be real with yourself. You have to be real with yourself. Teach older men to exercise self-control and to be worthy of respect. Do you hear me on today? The Bible says worthy. Yeah. Respect is earned. It's not given. If I got to give it to you without you paying the cost, baby, it's cheap. My God, come on. When a man lives in a certain manner, his wife will submit naturally because you live in a way that is honorable. You live in a way that is honorable. The wife don't have no reason not submitting. Come on. Okay. Come on. The wife, wait a minute. I know my husband honors me in public and in private. Come on. So I want to submit. But when I'm questionable about that thing, I don't know if I can submit. Stop telling people to submit to people that's leading their souls to hell. My God, come on. I'm not counseling people in hellish marriages no more. Either we going in a glorious direction or I'm just going to sit across from you and say, you know what? We're done here. It's nothing else I can do. God, I love your word on today because it takes two. Moving in an upward flow. My God, how can two walk together lest they agree? They must have sound faith. This is the Bible. Where are the men with the sound faith? It's so disappointing. People are mad about women preachers, but we don't even have men with sound faith hardly. They are sprinkled in the world, few far and in between. I know the Bible says who can find a virtuous woman? They're hard to find, but it seems as if a virtuous man is hard to find. Come on, men of God, we need y'all. We need y'all. You're needed. Somebody type it on the screen. Men of God, we need y'all. We don't need you to be hiding behind no cameras. We don't need you to be, that's good. I like when people go live because you get the world to the highway to the world. But I need you to go out and hit these street corners. I need you to go preach to the young version of yourself who had no daddy. I need you to go out here and talk to these young men that look like you. God, I love your word on today. That operated like you. God, I love your word on today. Come on. We need y'all men of God. We need you to be a man of God, and we don't need you to be a fashion icon. We got those. Boys are perishing because they have no men of God standing up. We need examples in the kingdom of how to live holy, of how to live pure, of how to live righteous. I am an example. God, I love your word on today. They must have sound faith and be filled with love and patience. A man is not, we have separated that a woman should be loving and a man should be whatever. No, a man should be filled with love and patience. I've only seen a few men. Let me see if I can count them. Less than on 5 fingers. I've only seen less than 5 fingers of men that I've seen that are filled with love and patience. You can see it in their nature. You can see it in their demeanor. Love is patient. It's kind. It's corrective. Come on. Keeps no record of wrongdoing. Men who love, I mean, for real, they love on purpose, not on accident. You can feel their love. You can feel their honor. A man who truly loves his wife, you ain't got to tell him don't look at no other woman. You ain't got to tell him don't be putting hearts on no other woman's page. You ain't got to tell him don't have your eyes in the crack of nobody's behind. You ain't got to tell him, my God, come on. Because when a man is filled with love, God, I love your word on today. They operate different. They operate different. God, I love your word on today. It's like a mother who births a child. You don't really have, you don't have to necessarily teach a woman how to breastfeed unless there are some complications. The baby gets close to the nipple and the baby suckles and the mother does what she does. Come on. God, I love your word on today. I am an example. I'm an example in how I'm ignoring this person talking crazy on TikTok right now. Just let people say what they want to say. You don't have to argue with everybody because they said something that goes against what you believe. You don't have to argue with people because it goes against what you know in your heart to be true. You don't have to argue with people. Stop getting your blood pressure up for people that don't matter. They don't pay your bills. Come on. See how I handle that? That's how I want you to handle it. I'm an example. See, I didn't go up in my voice. I went down. Because people should not have the right to excite rage in you. You don't have the right to raise my blood pressure. God, I love your word on today. I'm not going to waste my breath arguing with you because I'm going to need that for preaching the gospel and loving the people that I'm supposed to love. God, I love your word. Let's go to John. Oh, no, let me finish this. I'm sorry. Verse 3. Similarly, teach the older women to live in a way that honors God. There is a way that honors God in our living. And there's a way that does not honor God. Come on. There is a way that honors God. And if I can help, because a lot of us, we know drinking and smoking and cussing and lying and cheating and fornicating, and we know those things are not honorable to God. But do you know that when you do not love your husband or your wife in a certain way, you're not honoring God? Do you know when you overeat, you're not honoring God? Do you know when you cuss somebody out in traffic, you're not honoring God? There is a way to live. When you don't forgive, you're not honoring God. And I want to address, Takia, you said you thank God for your husband. I thank God for him too, because he is an example of love and patience. He's one on the list of 5. And I've only met him one time for 3 days. Come on. But I can tell his heart. God, I love your word on today. They must not slander others or be heavy drinkers. Instead, they should teach others what is good. These older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children. How are we going to train? Where are the trainers? Where are the trainers? You can't gossip with the younger crowd and talk about people with the younger crowd and then expect that they don't listen to your training, because they gonna really like, hey, we sitting up talking about the same thing. You ain't even on another level. You don't even realize you're not even on another level. We're so deceived. Help us, Holy Ghost. These older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children. This stuff has to be taught. It has to be taught. We can't teach what we won't learn. Did you hear what I said? I didn't say we can't teach what we don't learn. I said we can't teach what we won't learn, because many of us just don't want to learn it because we're set in our ways. And them set in ways is going to keep you right there where you at, getting the results that you've been getting. God, I love your word on today. These older women must train the younger women to love their husband and their children, to live wisely and be pure. Where are the trainers teaching us to be pure? I'm sorry, I just can't subscribe anymore that purity is a whole face of makeup, because it's starting to irritate me even the more, y'all. I'm gonna just tell you what it is. You want to know what it is? I'm going to just tell you what it is. When we boil it all the way down, it's subtle. It's subtle, but it's self-hatred. It's very subtle, and you would miss it. It's self-hatred. It's self-hatred. Honey, I'm just going to make my nose dark right here and light right here and light right here and dark right here and light right here and dark right here and dark right here and light right here. Put the big eyelashes on, put the big this. Because first makeup started out as just enhancing. Now we went from enhancing to transforming. We don't even know who you are without that. Amen. God, I love your word on today. There's a way to live wise, y'all. That means there's a way to live, even in our purchasing, in our spending. My God, come on, in our closets, in our shopping, and how we prepare our food, and how everything ain't hallelujah. No, sometimes it's teach me how to coupon. Teach me how to organize my pantry. Teach me how to make a meal and stretch it enough for 2 or 3 days. Come on. See, these things have to be taught and to be submissive to their husband. Then they won't bring shame on the word of God. I'm just trying to help us, and then the Lord, he'll be glorified through it all, y'all. Then they will not bring shame on the word of God. In the same way, encourage young men to live wisely. Where are the people encouraging the young men to live wisely? Because unfortunately, culture has a bigger voice in most of these young boys' lives than kingdom. Why is that? Because the men are still trying to be like culture instead of trying to be like kingdom. Where is the wise teaching for the men? Where is it? There's not much. And so the little that is, it's like, man, let me think what's his name? Jason Wilson. He's in Chicago. Mighty man of God. Mighty man of God. God, I bless your name. Come on. See, he's teaching the young men to live wisely. That is Zach's assignment, Takia. Tell him that's his assignment, to teach the young men to live wisely, to avoid the potholes that he went down. God, I love your word on today. But because we all have to be taught. Yeah. Because we all have to be taught. God, I bless your name. We're getting our teaching from music. And it's more and more cultural artists coming out every day telling us how to cuss people out, forget the police, trip on these girls, and bust that one in the head with a bottle. And I wear my pants down low. I whip my hair all around. Come on, I got my hair done, nails done, hair done, weave done. Come on, we got teachers. Yeah. They just ain't teaching us to live wisely. But because the people of God are so scary to preach the gospel and live the God, I just don't know if I'm called. Lord, no, I'm not going to say that. You wasn't called to the foolishness, but you did it. Come on. You wasn't called to the foolishness, but you didn't hesitate. Come on. Now we're in the king. I just don't know what to say. You didn't know what to say then, but you cussed real good. Come on. Now we get over here in the kingdom and we become cowards, and we get over here and we hesitate. Y'all, I got some fresh fire, so y'all just pray for me, okay? You just pray for me. Come on. And this is where I want us to get this part here. Verse 7. And you yourself must be an example. You yourself must be an example. You yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. People have told me I'm too serious. Well, good. I just realized that was good, and I needed that. Yeah. I'm not offended by being serious. It's okay. I have fun how I have fun, and it's okay. Come on. See, we've got to get this. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. Then those who oppose us will be ashamed and have nothing bad to say. See, that's why when someone puts a comment on the screen, I'm not trying to argue at you. I just got to correct it so that the alignment is correct in how it's being received to others, because I might know the truth. But because this is social media and other people may think they're partaking, and I don't want somebody to have the wrong thing on this platform. So I'm not arguing if I correct the teaching. I'm just making the crooked path straight. Come on. Not by power, not by might, but by the Spirit of God. God, I love your word on today. Come on, y'all. We got to. That's it. We got to go forth. We have got to go forth. It's not, and I don't know, mate. I was bold in sin. Come on. I went to the strip club one time and they said, ma'am, you don't even have enough clothes to come in. So listen, I was ignorant. I had two girlfriends at one time, and I said, y'all both sit here at the salon at the end of the night, and I'll let y'all know which one I'm going home with. Okay. And couldn't even fight. Y'all, the Lord kept me. So that's why I can't worry about it on this side. I can't worry about it. And so maybe that's where my boldness, maybe I've always been bold and didn't even know it. I don't know. But I know one thing for certain and two things for sure. I can't get on this side and cower down. Can't do it. People are perishing and we're too busy cowering down. Let's go to 1 Peter 2. 1 Peter 2. God, I love your word on today. If you take me to jail, I'm going to preach. If you take me to the hospital, I'm going to preach. God, I love your word on today. On the train, I'm going to preach. In the grocery store. Y'all know the story, Sam I am. God, I love your word. He said, I'll eat it in a box. I'll eat it with a fox. I'll eat it in the house. I'll eat it with a mouse. Come on. Wherever I go, God, I love your word on today. I'm just trying to tell us how you going to have the best product. I'm just trying to tell y'all how you going to have the best product in the city. God, I love your word on today, but be shy about it because the dope man, when he think he got the best thing, he think he got the best product in the city, he out distributing it. And so should you. 1 Peter 2. God, I love your word on today. And 12. Matter of fact, we'll start at verse 11. 1 Peter 2 and 11. Dear friends, I warn you as temporary citizens. I only got a short time to do everything I'm trying to do. God, I love your word on today. Come on. Dear friends, I warn you as temporary residents and foreigners to keep away from worldly desires that wage war against your very soul. God, I love your word on today. Be careful, my God, to live properly. There's a proper way to live. My God, come on. I need that on a shirt. That's good. God is the best product. Come on, I'm a hope dealer. I'm a hope dealer. God, I love your word on today. I got the best product in the city. I'm a hope dealer. Come on. Can you put that on a shirt for me? I got the best product in the city. I'm a hope dealer. Lord, I got to calm down. The Lord is kind. Be careful to live properly among your unbelieving neighbors. Then even if they accuse you of doing wrong, they will see your honorable behavior. And they will give honor to God when he judges the world. Y'all hear me? Just live in a way. Live in a way, my God, come on, that even the people that oppose your teaching and the people that oppose the lifestyle that you live, God, I love your word on today. Come on, as they keep on living, they'll understand it better by and by, and it gives glory to God. Come on, you ain't got to understand me and you ain't got to like me. God, I love your word on today, but I'm going to live holy and I'm going to preach the truth. God, I love your word on today. Come what may. If you like it, good. If you don't like it, good. Come on. See, you got to get rock solid in this thing and let God be God and let every man be a liar. Let your lifestyle be your witness. Let's go to 1 Peter 2:21. For God called you to do good, even if it means suffering, just as Christ suffered for you. He is your example and you must follow his steps. Christ has left his example. And so why are you following the world's footsteps? When they talk crazy, you talking crazy back, talking about you gonna still cuss them out and bust them in the mouth. Sit down, because you're not ready yet. My God, come on. No, Christ, he took his lashes. He took his lashes. He took his beating. They threw dirt on his name. 1 Peter 2:21. He never sinned, nor deceived anyone. Listen. The Bible says be angry, but sin not. He didn't trick nobody. That's what the Bible says about deception. He didn't trick nobody. And that's why I talk about even these hair weaves and wigs. If you get ready to marry a man and he ain't seen your real hair, your real waistline, your real everything, you're deceiving him. We're deceiving people because that's not how you really look. That's why you can go on my page, child, you'll see me. I think I was on there one time with a bonnet on. Somebody said, Pastor, you okay? Yes, I'm just not performing for you. I just had to bring you the word. Come on. See, we want people to be characters and show up with glitter and crystals and fancy outfits and hairstyles. The point of the story here is not Fashion Week. The point of the story here is the word of God. He never sinned. He did not listen. Listen, Zion. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered. He left his case in the hands of God. Child, I mean, what else you need? That's it right there. That's it. I had a pastor tell me when I was being delivered from vanity and I had cold turkey, stopped wearing wigs and weaves. My hair was natural, so I had an afro and no makeup. He was like, hey, he said, I'm not, what did he say? He said, hey, I'm not trying to be funny. It's just that, at the end of the day, it don't take all that. No, you just still like vanity. You like the wig. You like the makeup. You like the eyelashes. That was attractive to you from the pulpit. It was blessing you in a different kind of way. So you're offended by the afro and the clean face. I'm still here serving. See how we're so deceived, and see, it's somebody who still was already struggling and God hadn't made that thing firm on the inside of them. God, I love your word on today. They would have been like, well, Pastor said that it just, it didn't take all that. No, Pastor was, that the lust in him was being stirred up by them eyelashes. Child, listen, I used to paint my face so pretty. I would look at my own face, my own pictures and be like, dang, girl. Deception. God, I love your word on today. I know we over time today, y'all. I know we normally have a shorter line, but I just got to give y'all these couple of last scriptures, and then we're going to go on. Let's go to Philippians. I just tell the truth. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Only the devil's offended by that. Only the devil. Philippians 3:17. Philippians 3:17. Dear brothers and sisters, pattern your lives after mine and learn from the examples of those who follow our examples. We talked about that earlier. By this way, John 13:35. By this way, all men will know that you are my disciples. There is a way. Not the words. There is a way that people will know that you belong to God. There is a way. God, I love your word. Not your words. Listen, there is a way, my God, come on, that people will know that you belong to Christ. Let's go to Philippians 4:9. Philippians 4:9. God, I bless your name. Let's start at verse 8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts. What? What's wrong with my life? Fix your thoughts. Fix your thoughts. Fix your thoughts. God, I love your word on today. Fix your thoughts. God, I bless your name. On what is true. On what is honorable. Yeah. On what is right. on what is pure, on what is lovely, on what is admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Our thought patterns are mixed up. That's what's wrong with our lives. Our thoughts are mixed up. Fix your thoughts. They used to say fix your attitude, but before you can fix your attitude is only an outward reflection of your inner thoughts. Fix your thoughts. Fix your thoughts on what is true, what is honorable, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all you have learned and receive from me everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Come on, listen, put into practice all that you have learned from me. Don't just keep coming to the Makeover Ministry saying that's a good word. Are you putting it into practice? Come on, put into practice everything that you have learned from me and receive from me everything you heard and you saw me do. Then the peace of God will be with you. Exactly. The shortest version, thank you. Apply it. Yeah. Lord, we thank you for your word on today. May we remember that we are called to be an example. May we know that we are an example, whether for righteousness, for holiness, or hellishness. But one way or another, we are an example. May this word walk with us, talk with us, purify us. May we go back and listen to it again and again if we have to, God, until it gets down in the nooks and in the crannies of our soul and the core of our being. It's not enough to preach the gospel if we live like hellions and pagans. Creating us a clean heart and renew in us a righteous spirit so that our ways may please you. May we love you more than we love ourselves. May we love you more than we love the pleasures of this world. May we love you more than we love the glitter and the glam of hell. May we love you more than we love those that are around us that may try to persuade us. May we be in the world, but not of the world, being transformed daily by the renewing of our mind so that we can do what is honorable in your sight. So that we may hear you say, well done, thy good and thy faithful servant. God, you're holy. You're holy and you're righteous. You're faithful and you're true. In Jesus' name we pray. Hallelujah and amen. Hallelujah. 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 And maybe you don't have an example. May that irritate you to the point where you be the example. Maybe you don't have an example, but may the fact that you don't have an example, may it irritate you to the point that it makes you stand up and say, if I don't have an example, I will be the change that I want to see. It's my testimony. Hallelujah. I pray the word blessed you. I pray that it encouraged you. I read out of the NLT translation. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Y'all, God is faithful. Good morning, Ashara Monet. I love you. I miss your face, little woman of God. Call me on your lunch break. All right, people of God, have a good day on purpose. If you want to sow into the word, our CashApp is $ Makeova Ministry. If you're not a regular sower, today is definitely a word to sow into because I know it blessed you because it blessed me. This word today is life-changing. Literally, if you take it and you apply it, this word today can make a ripple. We always talk about breaking generational curses, but one thing I've learned is people do more talking about it than they actually are being about it. I actually don't keep saying I'm breaking generational curses. Baby, I live My lifestyle is just, it's going to break whatever it's going to break. God, I love your word on today. But more important than breaking generational curses, my example is to establish and to set forth a ripple and to create generational legacy. People are talking about creating generational wealth. Forget the money. If I'm still going to feel like a hellion with the money, if I'm still going to have suicidal thoughts, if I'm still going to cheat on my husband, I'm still going to overeat, I'm still going to be stressed out and depressed, keep the money. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. But if you think that is all about money, you have missed the whole point of the word of God. Let the way you live be your message. Hallelujah. All right. Have a good day on purpose. Be encouraged. Know that if God be for you, he's greater than the world against you. I am Apostle Julia. You have tuned into the Makeova Ministry. You can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We also have a webpage, which is called makeovaministry.com. All right. I'm Makeova Ministry on every platform. Makeova, Makeova Ministry. You can also catch us on Google. Have a good day and be encouraged. May God be with you.